We all know that we should donate blood, but probably don't do it as often as we should. Every year, nearly 5 million Americans need blood transfusions and would likely die without them. About 32,000 pints of blood are used each day in the United States for people who lose blood during surgeries or due to traumatic injuries. Others need blood transfusions due to ongoing illnesses like sickle cell anemia, where they require transfusions throughout their lives. The blood donation and transfusion network in any country is a vital part of keeping sick or injured people alive and healthy. This wouldn't be so complicated if we all had the same blood type, but that's not the case. And some of us have blood types so rare that any injury, any procedure, or any accident can be potentially deadly. Imagine your blood being so rare and unique that if you were injured, almost no other donated blood in the world could save you. So rare and valuable that your identity needs to be hidden to ward off an endless stream of requests for it. So rare that scientists would do almost anything to obtain a pint for study. For the people who have the world's rarest blood type, Rh null, this is their reality. The most dangerous blood type to have, because only 43 people in the world have been found to possess it. This means that if you get injured, virtually no one else's blood would be compatible with yours. Injuries that would be serious but treatable for everyone else would likely be fatal for you. Most of us have probably heard of the usual blood type system or even know our own blood type: O positive, AB negative, A positive, O negative. This classification determines who we can donate blood to or from whom we can receive it. There are a total of 33 recognized classification systems, but most people only need to worry about the two most common, the ABO and Rh systems. The ABO system classifies blood based on the presence of antigens, antigen A and antigen B. You can have one, the other, both, or none. Antigens are glycoprotein markers embedded in the cell membrane and help your immune system distinguish between the body's own cells and foreign cells like viruses or bacteria. In blood type A, antigen A is found on the blood cell itself, and an antibody A or anti-B in the blood serum. In blood type B, antigen B is found on the blood cells and an antibody B or anti-A is found in the serum. Blood type AB has both antigens A and B on the blood cells and none of the corresponding antibodies against them in the serum. And blood type O has no antigens on the cells but has both antibodies A and B in the serum. When blood is donated, the red blood cells are separated from the plasma, where the antibodies are found, through a process called blood fractionation. This ensures that only the red blood cells and not their corresponding antibodies are donated, as that would cause an adverse reaction in the recipient. Your immune system will produce antibodies against any blood antigen you do not have in your own blood. Therefore, a person with type A blood who receives type B blood would have an ABO incompatibility reaction. The anti-B antibody present in the patient's blood would agglutinate with the B antigens on the donated red blood cells, causing the blood cells to clump and block small blood vessels. The immune system would then attack the new blood cells and destroy them. It's rare for this to happen, but if it does, it's serious and potentially fatal. Transfusion's considered safe as long as the recipient's serum does not contain antibodies against the antigens of the donor's blood cells. That's why if you have type AB blood, you're a universal recipient. You possess none of the antibodies that would attack donor blood types, A or B. However, this also means you can only donate blood to other people who have type AB blood. If you have type O blood, you're a universal donor. You can give your blood to people with types A, B, AB, or O without triggering their immune system. But this is also the reason why people with type O blood can only receive type O blood. However, there are other antigens that need to be considered beyond those of the ABO system before safely donating or receiving blood. This is where the rhesus system comes in. The rhesus, or Rh system, is the second most significant blood group system. The most important antigens are, with the D antigen being the most significant. Although there are many other Rh antigens, the Rhd is the most significant because it's the most likely of the Rh antigens to produce an immune response. Depending on whether the Rhd antigen is present, each blood type is assigned a positive or negative symbol. People who are Rhd negative can only receive Rhd negative blood, but people who are Rhd positive can receive Rhd positive or Rhd negative blood. Negative blood types such as A negative, B negative, AB negative, and O negative are rarer than their positive counterparts. And although the D antigen is the most important in the Rh system, there's a total of 60 other Rh antigens, making it the largest of any of the blood classifications. And while these 8 blood types are the most common way to describe our blood, each of these 8 types can be subdivided much further. There are millions of varieties, each classified according to the exact antigens that coat the surface of our red blood cells. To know your exact blood type, you would have to write it down antigen by antigen. Fortunately for most of us, many of the antigens we have don't affect our ability to receive or donate blood because virtually everyone else has them too. For example, more than 99.9% of people carry the antigen called VEL. Therefore, for most of us, when donating blood among ourselves, we wouldn't have to worry about this antigen since it wouldn't trigger an immune response. However, out of every 5,000 people, there is one person who lacks the VEL antigen, who should not receive blood from the other 4,999. Their immune system recognizes the VEL antigen as foreign, and if they receive VEL-positive blood, could suffer kidney failure and possibly die. However, doctors test for as many of these variants as possible to ensure they find the best match for a blood transfusion. But sometimes this best match isn't really possible. And that's why the rarer your blood, the more complicated things are. The rarest blood type in the world, Rh null, is so called because it lacks any of the 61 antigens present in the Rh blood system. We previously discussed how rare it is to have some of the antigens in the Rh system missing from your blood, but the odds of missing all are extremely small. Doctors call it golden blood because for anyone who has any type of rare Rh blood that lacks some antigens here and there, Rh null blood can be accepted where other more typical blood types could not be. It has tremendous life-saving capabilities, but for those who possess it, it could be a curse. Most of us probably take for granted that if we get hurt, the nearest hospital will be able to help us. But if you're one of the few with Rh null blood, life is inherently more dangerous. You can't receive blood from anyone else except for the 42 other people who exist and have been found to have the same blood type. And of the known people who have it, only a few are active donors, and they're scattered around the world. The logistics of shipping blood around the world are incredibly complicated. Bureaucracy and paperwork can halt things at borders, which can create a myriad of problems. Fresh blood has a shelf life of 4 weeks and must be stored at 4 degrees Celsius, which is a challenge during transport, especially to remote areas. This means that any delay at customs can render the blood unusable, and some countries have very restrictive rules regarding the importation of blood. The United Arab Emirates, for example, do not accept blood that's not from the Gulf states. These types of logistics and bureaucracy make it very difficult for someone with rare blood to obtain a transfusion, especially in a sudden emergency where they need the blood quickly. For a Swiss man with Rh null blood, this meant that as a child he could not go to summer camps or play outdoor sports because his parents feared he might get injured. Without the ability to get a blood transfusion as an adult, he can't travel to countries without modern hospitals. The only realistic way he can navigate this danger is by continuously donating blood to himself, which means that twice a year he donates blood to keep in reserve in case he ever needs it. And he really can't donate much more than that because Rh null blood also comes with some adverse effects. It's thought that the Rh antigens that most of us have play a role in maintaining the integrity of the red blood cell membrane. Red blood cells lacking Rh antigens have an abnormal shape and increased osmotic fragility. This means that the red blood cells break down faster than they should, resulting in hemolytic anemia. This can lead to fatigue, shortness of breath, and jaundice, and therefore makes frequent blood donation impossible. And since only a few people with this rare blood donate it, this places a great burden on those who do when someone else needs this type of blood. Because Rh null blood can be donated to anyone with a rare combination of Rh negatives in their blood type, they might occasionally receive an urgent call. The Swiss man we mentioned earlier was once called because a newborn baby desperately needed this type of blood. To save the baby's life, he would need to head to the donation center. This meant taking a taxi to Geneva and taking time off work, none of which is allowed to be reimbursed due to blood donation laws in some parts of Europe. He was able to help in this instance, but quickly realized that the cost and burden of donating his valuable blood would ultimately fall on him. Anyone with this rare blood type has the gift of being able to help someone in a moment of need, a capability to help where no one else can. It probably feels incredible to know that you've played a role in saving someone's life, but this also comes with the unfortunate burden of being, in a sense, on call for your entire life. The need to donate blood poses an interesting ethical question. It's up to you to donate blood at any given time, whether you're in a meeting with clients, at your own wedding, or on vacation. At what point does your moral obligation to help someone else in need begin and end? But for each person who would otherwise be doomed without this donated blood, the importance of it obviously cannot be overstated. And this serves as a reminder that hospitals around the world depend on the good deed of blood donation to save lives, whether your blood is rare or not. Since the first blood transfusions in the 1800s, they've saved millions of lives and played a vital role in shaping our modern world. In times of peace, they've saved citizens from unfortunate accidents, and in times of war, they've saved the lives of countless wounded soldiers. During World War II, the American Red Cross transported nearly 200,000 pints of whole blood from the US to the Allied forces in Europe. More than 50,000 pints of blood were needed just for the soldiers fighting during the D-Day invasion of Normandy. The level of coordination needed to collect and transport so much blood is astounding.